The following presentation is brought to you by the Pride of ODU, the official NIL collective of Old Dominion Athletics. Be a monarchist. Join the Pride.
Monarch Nation, welcome back to the Monarchists basketball show. As always, we are thrilled to have Coach Delisha Milton-Jones in the house. What's going on, Coach?
Same old, as some would say, same soup reheated. We're in the heat of the season, closing out the non-conference schedule. We're in a good space right now, 7-4, and had a huge win the other night, so we're good.
Awesome. Well, let's for those who have been following the program, let's just take a step back. Obviously, it's been a couple weeks since we've had you on the show.
Mm-hmm.
You've had 3 games since you had on, the first of which was against number 24 NC State down in Raleigh.
Yes.
Really competitive first and fourth quarters. The middle of the game, there were some challenges. Talk to the fans about that game.
So the NC State. The NC State game was it was tough because we went in hostile territory, and they're a very good team, and they have great length, and they shot the ball well, and it just seemed like it was a rough night for us. The first quarter started off strong. I thought we followed the game plan tremendously, but we ended the quarter with 2 back-to-back threes for them that were huge. One was a wide open shot that should not have been, and then the other was we fouled a 3-point shooter with like seconds left on the shot clock to end the quarter, and they were able to shoot 3 free throws that kind of gave them momentum and shifted everything that we had been working towards in that first quarter. And in that timeout, I could just remember the morale and the emotions behind the morale. Everything just sunk because it was almost like we were on to something great. Then we made 2 grave mistakes, and the bottom just fell out. So I was more so in the huddle saying, hey, stay together, we're okay, it's good, we still got a whole nother quarter, we can repeat everything that we did well, and we can have the same scenario. But it was like herding cats at that point and trying to get 14 different energies back collected to being one. So we ended up having an uphill journey in that game, and halftime came, and it was still the same scenario, trying to regroup and cut the lead so that we could get back in the game, but we could never find our footing.
All right, following that trip to Raleigh to play NC State, we hosted ECU at home in the Ann Donovan Classic.
Yes.
This was a tough loss in overtime. I got to give credit to their center. She did a really good job getting to her spot all night long, and I
Yeah.
think that really had an effect on us because she was able to get points in the paint and rebound really well over us, and I think that was maybe the edge.
It really was. And the way that our defense is designed, one person should not be able to beat us. Even if she had a stellar night, think about it. They had to win in overtime with one person having a stellar night like that. But what it came down to was the scouting report. She was able to get to those spots because she's a good player. But the job wasn't done in terms of your next best defense, which was boxing her out. She was 50% from the field just from rebounding her own misses and putting them back in. And she did that all night long, and that cost us. So if we didn't do well on that first job, that next best job was to just get her off the glass to secure the rebound. Now you've done your best. We fell short in that rebounding area because she finished with what, a double double, I believe. Stellar numbers on both ends of those stats. And when you have a high powered offensive player like her, you can't give her good looks or even second looks off of one possession. And they were able to come away with a big time win for their program based off of what they posted on the website, how they celebrated after the game. It just goes to show that people are going to be up for us. We are somebody, whether they want to beat us because of who we are and the prestige behind this amazing university, or whether it's because of them wanting to be in my players' shoes, or because of who they're being coached by. People have amazing motivating factors when they're coming into Trotway Arena to suit up and play against us. And our players have to recognize that and either match that level of intensity or supersede it.
Now,
All
I
right.
want to make sure we give some credit to India Buford here because obviously she's one of our best players and has been for a while now. But
Yeah.
this game, I'm always impressed by her. Like this was a really impressive game by her, and her play kept us in it all game long. What can you tell us
Yeah.
about India that makes her tick? I guess.
So India Buford, she is a high-powered juggernaut. Even though she may be one of the smallest people on the floor, she plays big. She's one of our best rebounders, most physical rebounders, and finishers inside the paint. She just has this knack for the ball. She plays with a tempo and speed that is blurring, on the floor. And when we really figure it out in terms of how to play with that tempo and timing of what she does, then it's going to open up the offensive game, not just for her, but for her ability to make plays for others. She's the type that will put you on her back and she will will you to victory. Had we had her going into the conference tournament last year, it would have been a different ball game. But she fractured a finger in that last home game against JMU. I think it was senior night for us last year. Fractured her finger and on her shooting hand, and she wasn't able to play. And that really hurt us. That was a dagger in our hearts in terms of everything that we were building for. But she's healthy and she's playing amazing basketball. And even in the loss, you can still see her impact.
Mike, I love that you brought that up. I'm not usually the stats guy, and not on our football show, not in basketball. It's usually Mike and Gary are doing those things. But before this, I did look at some of the stats for your returning players. In India, she she stands out. So I'm looking here. She's only up 2 minutes a game so far, but her field goal percentage is up by 1%.
Mhm.
Her rebounding is up by 1.7 rebounds a game. Her assists are up over one a game. So she's clearly, just as an overall player, she's taken steps forward, like all across the board.
She really is. And we've had healthy conversations about how I want to be able to use her on the floor. And I told her, I said, what will make you even more dangerous is not just having you as a two guard or a three guard, but being able to put the ball in your hands as the point guard with the ability to make decisions for self and others. That's going to make you even more deadly. She really could be a draft pick if someone was ballsy enough to say, I want somebody with a little bit of spice. They may not fit the prototypical size and length of a WNBA guard. But man, if you want someone to come and play like a water bug and play with tempo and be tenacious on both, she's a two-way player. She is Deion Sanders when it comes to basketball. She's going to give you great, amazing things on the defensive end, and she's going to give you high-powered, amazing things on the offensive end.
All right. So following the game at East Carolina, you guys went on the road to Howard, 17-point win, and y'all took some steps forward. So I know a lot of what we've discussed, in after, post game, and then on the show is where we've struggled a lot in different offensive areas as a team.
Yeah.
But this game, you guys shoot 44% from the field. 3-pointers still, you're in the 20s, but free throws back up. 25 points off the bench and 24 points fast break.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so the offensive side, it doesn't worry me at all because I know we hang our hats on the defensive end. Yes, the ball needs to go through the basket. We're taking the shots that we need to take, and they're there. I have complete confidence in my players, and I want them to remain confident in themselves and their skill sets. That ball is going to fall for us, and when it does, it's going to blow the minds of everybody that's watching. It's going to be a fun game for them to see us play. I think tremendously we have put an effort on the transitional part of our game. If our defense is doing what it's doing, it should be creating offense for us. When we allow them to have one opportunity at a shot and we can rebound the ball, now I want whoever has it to push it, whether that's my four man or that's my one, two, or three. Even my five, they have the ability to push the ball, but I want it to be in a primary ball handler's hands so that can open up our fast break opportunities. We have players that are shooting 60% from the field in transition. That's Samara Fields when you really break down the numbers analytically. Then you have Mariah Clayton, our true freshman, who's sensational. She's about 50% in transition. Then you have India Buford, who's shooting the ball at over like 33% from the three. Samara Fields shooting 36% from the three. Hamaya Fielder almost shooting 38% from the three. If we can get out and open up the court and play with space and tempo and timing, now we can open up this game in a completely different way that we haven't been able to tap into before because we were being pressed and we were turning the ball over. Now we couldn't reap the benefits or the fruits of our labor. but it is coming. We are building this thing. It may not be the typical way that things are built, but a foundation has been laid in terms of the culture and in terms of how we built the team. Now it's just about us putting the bells and whistles together here and there so we can understand that when it's time to really present this thing, when it matters the most, we'll be able to have the product on display that we desire it, how the way that it's been desired for it to look.
Now, Coach, you say you hang your hat on defense, and the your field goal defense backs that up.
Mm.
Old Dominion women's basketball is 28th in the country right now, holding their opponents to 35.4% from the field. This early in the season, that has to give you some confidence and optimism about this team, because if you continue to shut your opponents down and hold them to under 35% from the floor, you're going to have a chance to win every game.
No doubt. And that's what we want. And even when you look at it from the standpoint of our the 3-point percentage that we hold our opponents to, I think we're fourth in the nation. Everyone has designed this game now. The trend is to have shoot threes and get layups. Well, if my math is mathing, I think that 3 points is more than two. So if you want to give yourself a chance to win, take away the 3 point line, make it a 2 point scoring game. Now that ups our chances of being able to win. So defense is something that we do have control over. We don't have control over whether the ball is going to go in at a high rate or not, but we can make it difficult as hell for our opponents. And now when we come down on the offensive end, did our defense produce offense for us by us having numbers when we get out and run? And are we making good decisions and taking care of the ball when we get to our transition or our secondary options within transition? That is to be determined. But I love the odds that we give ourselves night in and night out by what we do on the defensive end.
Yeah, I mean that's so true. Whether people like it or not, the game has really evolved into you're either making a layup or you're shooting a three. There's not a whole lot in between, and a lot of that has become kind of inefficient. So, uh, Mike and I talked about this a little bit, at the game, sitting there watching.
Mm-hmm.
Is there you want to create transition points? We were just talking about transition points. Now, do you design that as trying to create transition points by just the traditional defense and being able to grab steals, or denying those 3 point shots? So when people are shooting 21% against you, they're creating long rebounds, which create transition opportunities.
Well, it won't necessarily be a long rebound because we're running them off the 3 point line. If ball screens are happening, then we're positioning our bodies in a way to where we're only giving you one direction. And that direction is also going to be met with a force from our post players because we're funneling you away from the middle of the court or the free throw line area. You're going to have to go out towards half court. Now, when we do that, we can shape back up and build our walls again. Now, if you do happen to get downhill, it's going to be by design too, because we have a scheme for that to where maybe our bigs will be a little bit flatter on their show and not as aggressive in terms of hard hedging, but a little bit flatter. It's like drop coverage, but instead of being dropped back, we're sitting up to flatten it out. Now we run the guards off the 3 point line, and the only shot that they'll have is a pull up jump shot. That should be contested. So now it's not going to be a long rebound, but it'll be a shot that is difficult for teams to take because all they do in practice is shoot threes and layups. Now we have everyone in position to be able to contest and box out. So now we can get out and we can run. If we can run with numbers and get the ball up the floor and score easily, great. If not, then we have to set up and we have to find something. The difficult part for us is a lot of teams don't want to fool around with us in man to man defenses. So they set back up in zone defenses, which clogs the paint, prevents us to be able to get the penetrations. So now it's helping us having to learn a different way to play. You got to come and penetrate, come to a 2 foot jump stop, look for your drive and kick type games, and have to play with balance with your 2 feet up under you and being very methodical and surgical in terms of how you attack. And I think non-conference has served us well. So now when we see all these different teams in the Sun Belt Conference, Troy, they want to get up and run and jump and press. Lafayette, they want to wait till half court, then they come and jump you. JMU, they'll play man, they'll play zone. We'll be ready for everything because we've seen it in a healthy dosage.
All right, Coach. So this Sunday, you guys host Delaware, who's off to a slow start for them. They're 3-6, 0-3 on the road. They're coming off a 10-point loss to Villanova. What else can you tell us about this Delaware team?
So Delaware, they kind of are the team that is built with a lot of isolation type players. You know, their post players can attack you going to the basket. Their guards can attack you from the perimeter or getting downhill to get to that 15-foot range area, or even trying to get paint touches. So we're going to have to play some great defense where we switch up our calls. We'll start in man and then switch to a zone, or we'll be in man and switch. I mean, be in zone and switch to a man. We want to try to keep them on their heels and try to eliminate what their coaches can do from the sidelines by constantly having their players in a probing type manner where they're trying to figure out what am I looking at, and they're doing more reading than attacking. If we can have them in that level of play, then I think that has them in our hands, and we can kind of have more control of how we can manipulate the tempo of the game and how they're attacking. They're going to pound the ball inside, looking for high low type action with their bigs, and they're aggressive with that. So we want to load up in a certain way to be able to have help on that backside, forcing them to have to make the skip pass, which will be ready to run down and close out to get them off the 3-point line.
All right, and then 9 days out, it might be too far. You might not even have looked at this game, although it is a conference game. It's your first conference game, so you're familiar with South Alabama.
Yes.
They too are 3-6. I did do these notes the other day, so perhaps they have played since. I don't think they have.
Mm-hmm.
They've struggled on the road a little bit, although they are coming off a loss to Ole Miss, so they're playing a good team there. Can you let Monarch Nation know what they should expect with this first in conference game and how South Alabama likes to play?
So it's going to be a big game because it's the first conference game, and it's going to be one where you're going to figure out which team did what they were supposed to do over the break, meaning players go in the gym and work and stretch and hydrate, or did players go home and act like a bunch of fat cats and just eat up everything in sight and become lethargic. The work that you're putting in now and the mindset you're setting now will help us once Christmas break is over in preparation for that first coveted win in conference play. South Alabama is going to come in here and they're going to come probably loose, playing like they have nothing to lose. That's even dangerous. Or they could come in and they can have the mindset of a wounded animal where they're going to fight to the death and they're going to claw with every ounce of energy in them to get a gutsy road win against a very good team. We're considered one of the tops of the conference, so now we're going to have to figure out how we can get our players to like level out in terms of their way of thinking, to really figure out how we can walk away with a great first win. Kelsey Thompson played for South Alabama.
I was just going to ask. I mean, so when you talk to your players, so you talk to Kelsey, this is one of those games that for some players could be, how do you keep yourself from being too excited from a game like that? Like, how
Well,
do you get in the right frame of mind?
so it's about regulating the emotions. I told them we're a good team, but the thing that stops us from being a great team is our inability at certain moments to regulate our emotions. We can't be triggered by certain things, whether it's internal or external. We have to have a workman's blue collar type mentality about everything that we do when we're on the court, and we have to be focused on the things that matter. If you're focused on the fact that that's my former team and I want to kill them and I'm going to shoot the ball and I'm going to go off and I'm going to have this amazing game, you're probably going to fall flat on your face, and we're going to lose miserably. But if you just come in and you just say, hey, that just happens to be an opponent that I know well, but I'm still going to be totally committed and focused to everything that we have going on game plan wise, then now that's when you'll walk into an amazing game and we get an amazing win.
All right. I think we'll be wrapping up here shortly, but I wanted to ask this question.
Okay.
The season's a long season,
Hmm.
and some players get on hot streaks, some get on cold streaks. How do you manage those streaks as the season goes along? Because obviously they also come with emotion. Because
Yeah.
when you're struggling, it gets hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it is hard, but I tell the players, and we're tapping into the mode of mindset. Everyone can go in and train their biceps, train their quads, their glutes, their abs, all these major muscle groups. You can train those, but we always forget to train that other muscle within your brain, and mindset. How can you get to the other side of whatever it is you're feeling or thinking? If you if you say you're in a slump, you're probably going to be in a slump. I want them to speak positively, and I want them to have proper perspective so that they can get outside of things quicker, and they can get to the other side of bad thoughts by getting to positivity. They can get to the other side of bad feelings into good feelings. But it all is about the mindset. What are you thinking? What are you saying? That produces the energy to tell you what you're feeling. And now you can get out of a slump. If you're going to walk around with the energy of, I can't hit a shot, I'm not making shots, you're probably not going to make a shot. But if you can walk around with next shot mentality, then now there's a positive energy attached to that. Something good karmically is going to happen in your favor. So it's literally about speaking it into existence, changing your reality by your thought processes that you attach to whatever it is that you're physically doing.
Hey, you're so right about that. And when it, especially when it comes from the coaching staff. So I know you and Mike, both teams are very much together and family. And one of the experiences that Mike and I had was Mike Langston, not Mike Jones,
Okay.
was during the open practice before the season started. So the first time that um in a game kind of environment where we saw him talking to his players. And as Robert Davis was coming down, Robert had hit a couple 3-point shots. But before he even had crossed half court, the ball's coming up in transition, and you already hear Mike going, again, again.
Mm-hmm.
And when they hear that from you encouraging them like that, I would imagine, especially if you're struggling, if you're hearing that from your head coach, like, let it go, do it
Yes.
again, it makes a big
Yes.
difference.
It really does, and that's why we leave no space for negative talk. And I know my players well, so when I see them in that mode, that's when I constantly interject into the conversation or bogart my way into their mindset, or I'll stop them and say, "Hey, what are you thinking? I can see it. I see it on your body language. Tell me what you're thinking. What are you saying to yourself? Don't talk dirty to yourself. Talk nice to yourself. Sometimes we can be so mean to ourselves, and then we project that energy to others when this is not the environment that we're in. We got to change that. We got to become better with that. So talking positively, building confidence, getting them out of the rut mentally or emotionally that they may be in. The quicker you can get them out of that, the quicker they can get to success. If something good happened, repeat it. If something not so good happened, go back to base, center yourself to get back to good.
All right, Coach. I know you and Mike have an announcement to make about a radio show. Um, would you care to fill in fans now?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yes, we have a radio show coming, and I'm super excited about it. I want to be able to give the fans an opportunity to hear from me more in an in-depth way. It's a great basketball banter or conversation that will be had. We could talk all things hoops, all things ODU women's basketball, or just all things whatever the subject matter may be. You'll be able to get my thoughts and my processes and my feelings and philosophy. So I think it's an amazing thing, and I'm super excited about it.
So we've heard that show will start January 6th. The first episode will be recorded at Water's Edge Winery on that day at 6 p.m. So get to Water's Edge Winery, get to meet Coach Milton Jones and Coach Mike Jones, and have a blast at the winery. That show will be going on the rest of the season. But on top of that, this Sunday, get out to Chartway Arena and root on these Lady Monarchs. They will give you free basketball quite a bit. We've gotten two overtimes already.
Listen,
So
I
Mike,
want
Mike, you are streaking with that, man.
to I want to play off of Asia Wilson when they won their last championship, and she came to the press conference and she was like, next year you got to have minimum 4 shots before you can even enter into the party. So we're going to a winery, so maybe we have to allow people to chug about 2 glasses of wine before they come in, so everybody can loosen up and we can set the vibe and we can have a really good time.
yeah, let's do it in the Blue Room Sunday. Get loud for these Lady Monarchs. They are playing hard. Obviously, we mentioned we hit hard on how good this defense is playing. So get out and cheer these ladies on.
Yes.
Can't wait. I hope you and the team have a happy holidays. Thank you as always for joining us. Go Monarchs.
Thank you.
Go Monarchs.